My name is Emily Harper. I'm 28. Last Thanksgiving at 6:47 p.m., my father slammed a DNA testing kit onto the table in front of 32 relatives and said, "Let's finally find out whose daughter you really are." The room went silent. My cousin Jessica's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. My Aunt Linda's hand froze on her wineglass. My mother's face turned the color of chalk, but she didn't say a word. She just looked down at her plate like the mashed potatoes were the most fascinating thing she'd ever seen. "Dad," Tyler said from across the table, laughing nervously. "Come on, that's—" "No." My father's voice cut through the dining room like a blade. "Your mother had an affair in 1994. Emily has auburn hair. I have dark brown. Your mother has dark brown. Tyler has dark brown. Emily looks nothing like me." He turned to me, and his eyes were cold. "You want to know why I cut your tuition 3 semesters before graduation? Why Tyler got the $80,000 house deposit and you got nothing? Because I'm not raising another man's child on my dime." I couldn't breathe. The air in that room felt thick, solid. "That's not— I'm your daughter. I've always been your daughter." "Then take the test." He pushed the box closer. The wrapper crinkled. "Unless you already know the answer." Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. I didn't take the test that night. I left. I walked out of that house with my coat still on the rack and my purse on the kitchen counter. I sat in my car in the driveway for 11 minutes with the engine off, watching frost creep across the windshield, and I could hear them through the window, laughing. Tyler was making some joke about cranberry sauce. My mother's voice light and relieved. "Well, that was dramatic. Not one person came after me. Let me take you back 20 years to when I was 8 years old." My father took me to a construction site on a Saturday morning in October. Harper and Sons Construction was building a new elementary school on Meadowbrook Drive, and he walked me through every room before the walls went up. "See this?" he said, crouching down and pointing to a steel beam. "This is the foundation. Everything else is decoration, but this holds the whole thing together." He tapped my chest lightly, right over my heart. "You're the foundation of this family, Em. Strong, solid. Don't let anyone tell you different." I believed him. I believed him the way you believe the sun will rise. I believed him when he taught me to read blueprints at 10, when he brought me to client meetings at 12, when he told me at 16 that one day Harper and Sons would include me. I believed him until I didn't. The first crack came when I was 22, in my final semester at VCU. I was 3 months from finishing my nursing degree when my father called me on a Tuesday morning at 7:18 a.m. "I'm pulling the tuition," he said. No greeting, no explanation, just that. "What?" "Dad, I'm almost done. I just need—" "Figure it out yourself." The line went dead. I took out $47,000 in federal student loans to finish. I graduated with my RN license and a debt that felt like an anchor around my neck. Tyler graduated the same year with a business degree from Virginia Tech, debt-free, and walked straight into a corner office at Harper and Sons with a salary I didn't ask about because I already knew it would make me sick. At his graduation party, my father handed him keys to a brand new Ford F-250. Midnight blue, custom leather interior. Tyler was crying. My father pulled him into a hug and said, "This is what I do for my son." I was standing 10 feet away. He looked right at me when he said it. I worked at a small hospital outside Richmond in the pediatric ICU. I intubated 3-year-olds with RSV at 2 in the morning. I held babies while they coded and did chest compressions with 2 fingers. I came home at 8 a.m. with other people's blood on my scrubs and collapsed into bed and did it again 12 hours later. I was good at my job, great even. My supervisor, Marianne, told me I had the calmest hands she'd ever seen in a crisis. But it didn't matter, not to my father. 6 months after graduation, I ran into him at the grocery store on a Sunday afternoon. He was with Tyler, loading cases of beer into the back of that truck. I was coming out with a bag of rice and 2 cans of soup because my bank account had $114 in it and payday wasn't until Friday. Emily, my father said, not warmly. Hi, Dad. Tyler waved. He always waved. He wasn't cruel, just oblivious. How's the hospital? Busy. My father slammed the tailgate shut. Must be nice playing nurse while your brother runs a real business. Playing nurse. I'd held a 4-year-old girl's hand 3 nights ago while she died of leukemia. Her name was Sophie. Her mother had screamed so loud the sound still lived in my bones. But I didn't say any of that. I said, yeah, it's nice. That was the pattern for 6 years. I showed up to family dinners and said nothing while Tyler talked about job sites and profit margins and the new Lexus my mother bought herself with company dividends. I smiled when my father toasted to family and legacy and didn't mean me. I left early and cried in my car and told myself it didn't matter. It mattered. The humiliation I could survive. The coldness, the favoritism, the erasure. I'd learned to live with all of it. But last October, something changed. My father started talking about estate planning. He was 64, healthy, but he'd seen a friend have a heart attack at a Rotary meeting, and it spooked him. He hired an attorney named Howard Pratt and started drafting a will. At Sunday dinner in early November, he announced it. Howard's putting together the estate plan. When I'm gone, everything, the house, the business, the accounts, goes to my biological children. The table went quiet. My mother reached for her wine. Tyler frowned, confused. Dad, what are you? You, Tyler. Just you. My father looked at me. Not her. My Aunt Linda, my father's sister, set down her fork. Dave, what on earth are you talking about? Susan had an affair. He said it so casually, like he was commenting on the weather. Emily's not mine. My mother's face drained of color, but she didn't deny it. She just sat there, silent. That's insane, I said. My voice sounded far away, like someone else was using it. Mom, tell him. Emily, not now, she said quietly. Not now. Not ever. She let him say it. She let him rewrite our entire history in front of 15 people, and she said nothing. Tyler looked at me, then at Dad, then back at me. This is crazy. Emily's our sister. Half-sister, maybe, my father said. If that. I stood up. My chair scraped against the hardwood. I'm leaving. Of course you are, my father muttered. Running away, just like your real father probably did. I drove home to my apartment, a one-bedroom with water-stained ceilings on the second floor of a building that smelled like mildew. I sat on my couch for 2 hours in the dark. Then I went to my laptop and ordered an AAB-accredited DNA test. Express shipping. It arrived 3 days later. I didn't tell anyone. I went to the collection site on a Wednesday afternoon after my shift, gave my saliva sample, and waited. 4 weeks. The email came on December 15th at 11:02 p.m. I was in the hospital break room, eating cold pizza, when my phone buzzed. Results ready. I opened the file. The first page was full of genetic markers and percentages, none of which I understood. The second page was a family match report. It listed one confirmed match. David William Harper. Probability of paternity, 99.9998%. I read it 3 times. The words didn't change. My father was wrong. I called the lab the next morning and requested a notarized copy of the results. They sent it within 48 hours, a thick envelope with an embossed seal and a legal affidavit confirming the test's validity. I put it in my glove compartment and didn't tell anyone. Not my mother, not Tyler, not my Aunt Linda, who'd started texting me every few days asking if I was okay, because I wasn't sure what to do with it yet. Part of me wanted to shove it in my father's face and watch him choke on his own words. But another part of me, the part that had been trained to stay silent and small, wasn't sure it would matter. He'd been so certain for so long. Would proof even change his mind? Or would he find another reason to hate me? Then came Thanksgiving. The DNA kit he gave me wasn't a coincidence. It was a performance. He'd been planning it, waiting for the biggest audience possible. He wanted to humiliate me publicly, to justify years of cruelty in front of everyone who mattered. And my mother, who'd sat silent through every insult, every exclusion, every moment he'd erased me, she let him do it. I went home that night and made a decision. I wasn't going to tell him privately. I wasn't going to give him the chance to bury this quietly or spin it into something else. He'd made his accusations public. I'd make the truth public too. Howard Pratt's office called 3 weeks later. January 18th, they said. Formal reading of the estate plan, all family members invited. I confirmed I'd be there. Tyler called me the night before. Are you really going to this? Yeah. You don't have to. If he's going to cut you out anyway, why put yourself through it? Because I deserve to be there, I said. I'm his daughter. Tyler sighed. I know. I'm sorry he's doing this. For what it's worth, I'll split everything with you when the time comes. I don't care what the will says. Thanks, Ty. I meant it. He was a good person. None of this was his fault. Howard Pratt's office was on the third floor of a building downtown with marble floors and wood paneling that smelled like lemon polish. The conference room had a long walnut table with 16 chairs. 15 people showed up. My father, my mother, Tyler, my Aunt Linda and Uncle Rob, my father's business partner Jean, 3 cousins, 2 family friends, and Howard himself at the head of the table. I was the last to arrive. My father glanced at me when I walked in, then looked away. My mother didn't look at all. Tyler gave me a small, encouraging nod. I sat at the far end of the table, as far from my parents as possible. Howard cleared his throat. Thank you all for coming. We're here for the formal review of David Harper's estate plan. This is a draft, subject to revision, but Mr. Harper wanted his family to understand his wishes. He opened a leather folder. The estate consists of the primary residence at 4,000 square feet on Briarwood Lane, valued at approximately $1.1 million. Harper and Sons Construction, LLC, with current valuation of $1.4 million, investment accounts totaling $520,000, and life insurance policies totaling $180,000. Combined estate value, approximately $3.2 million. People shifted in their seats. Jean, the business partner, nodded like he already knew all this. My Aunt Linda frowned. Howard continued. Mr. Harper's distribution plan is as follows. All real property, business interests, and financial assets, including but not limited to the family home, Harper & Sons Construction LLC shares, investment portfolios, and life insurance proceeds, shall pass exclusively to his biological children. The room went very still. Meaning Tyler, my father said, just to make it clear. My cousin Jessica stared at me horrified. My Uncle Rob's jaw tightened. Tyler closed his eyes. Additionally, Howard said, his voice strained, Mr. Harper has requested a provision clarifying that Emily Harper, while legally his daughter, is excluded from inheritance on the grounds of... He paused. On the grounds of disputed paternity. There's no dispute, my father said. She's not mine. I reached into my bag. My hands were steady. I pulled out the notarized envelope and slid it across the table toward Howard. It made a soft whisper against the wood. What's that? My father asked. Open it, I said quietly. Howard looked at me, then at the envelope. He opened it carefully, unfolding the papers inside. His eyes scanned the first page, then the second. His expression changed, eyebrows lifting, mouth tightening. He looked at my father, then back at the document. This is an AAB-accredited DNA test, Howard said slowly. Completed on December 11th by Emily Harper and David William Harper. My father frowned. That's impossible. You gave a sample years ago, I said. Remember? The health screening at your doctor's office in 2019. You signed a release form allowing genetic data to be used for family matching services. It's standard now. They keep it on file. That wasn't entirely true. What was true was that I'd taken a reference sample from his toothbrush in October, before all of this started, and submitted it along with mine. It was legal, barely, under Virginia's genetic information laws when both parties are direct relatives, but he didn't need to know that. Howard read aloud. Probability of paternity, 99.9998%. David William Harper is the biological father of Emily Rose Harper. The silence was so complete I could hear the air conditioning hum. My father's face went white, then red. No, that's not possible. It's notarized, Howard said. Legally certified. There's an affidavit from the laboratory director confirming. I don't care, my father's voice cracked. She has auburn hair. I have dark brown. The math doesn't. Recessive genes, Dave. My Aunt Linda's voice was ice. You took 10th grade biology. Auburn hair can come from two brown-haired parents. My father turned to my mother. Tell them about the affair. Every head in the room swiveled toward her. My mother looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. Her hands were shaking. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Susan, my father said, tell them. There was an affair, she whispered. The room erupted. My Uncle Rob swore under his breath. Jessica gasped. Jean leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. Tyler stared at our mother like he'd never seen her before. I knew it, my father said, triumphant and vindicated and vicious all at once. I knew you. It wasn't with Emily's father. My mother's voice was stronger now, louder. She looked at me for the first time, and there were tears in her eyes. It was Mike Donovan, the subcontractor. 1994, when you were working on that project on the Chesapeake Bay. You were gone for 6 weeks. I was lonely, and Mike was... She stopped. It happened once, one time, and I got pregnant. Tyler's face went slack. Mom, what are you... It was you, Tyler. She was crying now, open and ugly and raw. You're Mike Donovan's son, not Emily. You. The room exploded. Tyler pushed his chair back so hard it tipped over. You're lying. I'm not. My father looked like he'd been shot. No, that's... Susan, you told me it was Emily. You said... I never told you anything. My mother's voice was shaking. You accused Emily when she was 2 years old because she had auburn hair, and I didn't correct you because... She covered her face with her hands. Because I was terrified. If you knew the truth, you'd leave me. You'd leave us. So I let you think it was Emily. I let you hate her for 26 years because I was a coward. I couldn't breathe. The air in that room was too thin. My Aunt Linda was staring at my mother like she was a stranger. Jean was shaking his head slowly. Tyler had his hands in his hair, pulling. You let him... Tyler's voice broke. You let him treat her like that. For my whole life. Mom, what did you do? I saved our family, my mother said. But she didn't sound sure anymore. You destroyed it, I said quietly. She looked at me. Emily, I don't want to hear it. I stood up. My legs felt like water, but I stayed upright. I looked at Howard. Is there a version of my father's will that predates this draft? Howard nodded slowly. Yes. The 2021 operative will, which is still legally binding. It distributes assets equally to all children without biological qualifiers. Then that's the will that matters, I said, unless my father wants to contest his own DNA results in court. My father was staring at the table. He looked smaller than I'd ever seen him. You thought wrong. I picked up my bag. For the record, I don't want your apology. I don't want your money. I don't even want your guilt. What I want is for you to know that every time you looked at me with disgust, every time you called me someone else's mistake, Every time you chose Tyler over me, you were wrong. You weren't punishing a stranger. You were destroying your own daughter. I turned to my mother. And you let him. Then I walked out. No one followed me this time either, but I didn't need them to. I sat in my car in this parking garage for 20 minutes. My hands were shaking so hard I couldn't get the key in the ignition. I kept thinking about that construction site when I was 8. You're the foundation of this family, Em. Strong, solid. I'd spent 20 years trying to be that for him, and he'd never even noticed. But I was done now. 3 weeks later, my Aunt Linda called me. Your father wants to talk to you. I don't want to talk to him. I know, but I think you should hear this. She put him on the phone. His voice sounded thin, unfamiliar. Emily, I want to apologize. Okay. A pause. That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say? I asked. That I forgive you? I don't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I was wrong, he said. About everything. I let your mother's lie become my truth, and I hurt you. For years, I can't take that back. No, I said. You can't. Howard's revising the will. Equal distribution. You, Tyler, both of you. The house, the business, everything. I don't want it, I said. Emily, I don't want your guilt money, Dad. I don't want the business you never let me be part of. I don't want the house where you made me feel like a stranger. I just want you to know what you did. I took a breath. And I want you to live with it. I hung up. Tyler and I met for coffee the next week. He looked exhausted. I got tested, he said. Official DNA test with Mike Donovan. It's true. He's my biological father. How do you feel about that? I don't know. He rubbed his face. Angry, confused, like my whole life was built on a lie, which I guess it was. He looked at me. I'm sorry, Em, for all of it. I should have noticed. You were a kid, I said, and then you were an adult who didn't know. It's not your fault. I benefited from it. I know. I stirred my coffee. But you didn't create it. They did. We talked for 2 hours. He told me he'd confronted our mother, that she'd admitted everything. The affair, the lie, the decades of silence. She'd begged for forgiveness. He hadn't given it yet. Are you going to stay at Harper & Sons? I asked. I don't know. Jean offered to buy Dad out, start fresh without the family drama. I'm thinking about it. He paused. What about you? What are you going to do? Keep working, I said. I'm good at my job. I like my job. I don't need Dad's legacy to have a life. He smiled. It was sad, but real. You were always stronger than me. No, I said. I was just used to being alone. 6 months later, I moved into a new apartment. 2 bedrooms, hardwood floors, a balcony that overlooked a small park. I adopted a cat from the shelter, a gray tabby with amber eyes. I named her Star, because my father used to call me that when I was little, before everything changed. Before he decided I wasn't his. I still work in pediatric ICU. I still come home with blood on my scrubs. But now I come home to a place that's mine, bought with my own money, free of ghosts. I have plants on the balcony. I have books on the shelves. I have a life I built without permission. My father and I don't talk much. Twice a month, maybe. Short calls, surface level. He's trying in his way. It's not enough, but it's something. My mother and I don't talk at all. She made her choice 26 years ago. She can live with it. Tyler and I are okay. Better than okay. We're rebuilding something new, something honest. He left Harper & Sons. Started his own contracting business. I helped him design the logo. It felt good. If you're watching this and you've ever been blamed for someone else's secret, type, "not my shame" in the comments. If you've ever been the scapegoat for a family's lies, type, "I survived it." Both are true. Both matter. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening.